Hello, friends. I'm DJ Lance Rock, and I have to say, Rock and Roll Grad School is awesome!
This is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poland. Wherever you go, whatever you do, they will be right here waiting for you.
Hello, kiddies. We are going to have a real good time today because we are talking with Talia Keys, a really great singer-songwriter with an amazing voice. And we spend most of the interview talking about this idea that she promotes, and I think most music fans can get behind.
Hopefully.
One would hope. The idea of buying the record before you stream it and make sure that you are supporting the artist the best way you can. And we talk about but just getting merch from them and making sure that you don't just assume that Spotify and the other streamers will get them their residuals, because
Or if you stream it like the first time, then go buy it. Like even if you do stream it to hear it once or whatever,
that's
then
usually
still
what I
go
go
buy
with.
it.
Yeah. Pre-order, order it, whatever, but then I can listen to it and I don't feel guilty about it.
Correct.
So we talk a lot about that. It's a really interesting conversation, and she is much more optimistic than I am, which, tell me you're shocked.
I mean, that doesn't,
I
most of
know.
us are, but
Yeah.
although sometimes you've been more optimistic lately. I don't know.
Every once in a while. Wait a second.
Chaka Khan.
Do you hear that?
Chaka Khan.
Did you hear that?
Chaka Khan.
No, did an angel get his wings?
No, it is our Shaka Khan alert.
Chaka Khan.
It's going to be.
This is new.
I know.
Wow.
So,
Chaka Khan.
So she announced last week. So she made 2 albums with Prince.
Yes.
And she covered "Feel for You," which obviously that's where our Shaka Khan alert comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But she just announced that she has an album's worth of material that is played on by Prince and co-written with him.
Yes.
But also appearing on the track is Larry Graham from Sly and the Family Stone. And it's taken them a while to clear up all of the rights and get various estates to sign off on everything. But she announced last week that it has been signed off upon and that it is coming. And the stuff that's been put out already, the track features her, Prince, Larry Graham, and Miles Davis. So this is insanely interesting to see who shows up on these tracks, who also plays on them. So if the last few weeks have been nothing but downers, I feel like we have good news now.
We do have good news now.
And then I don't know if you saw any of the footage from Coachella, and who knows what this coming weekend is going to be.
I think you do know that I saw quite a bit of it. I sent you a lot of this. We can pretend I did it.
Thank you. Friend of the show, Lance Rock, appeared with his friends from Yo Gabba Gabba.
Yes.
And if there's anything better than seeing Lance Rock, Weird Al Yankovic, the entire cast of Yo Gabba Gabba, and Paul Williams singing The Rainbow Connection.
I mean, it was like one of our dreams all at once.
Yeah, what else could one ask for at a music festival? Well, I mean the Barbie dream has come to life. Yes, but
Charlie's Angels.
Oh, sorry, I misspoke. Charlie's Angels. I didn't see, does it have the little speaker that says "Good Morning, Angels"?
I don't know. I was so excited that you could turn it for the optimal sunning. I mean, I was literally like, wait, what?
Yeah,
and the best part of it on Instagram was that it was like, the person who posted it was about taking it to Fire Island, which made it even better. It has to have the speaker.
You would hope.
I'm going to look back and see.
But yeah, it's been just nothing but lovely news. And Coachella, I feel like this year there's been nothing but good news out of that.
I know Coachella. Well, I mean, it started off rough, let's be honest.
Fair. Yeah, not ideal.
The like long lines to get in and the bathroom situation, not great. But once you got in there, it was all okay. All was right with the world.
The Go-Go set looked amazing.
It did. It looked really cool.
And tagging, we got the beat with Hot to Go.
Perfect.
Including Jane Wielden doing the spelling out the stuff.
Yes.
I hope they tour again. Maybe not tour. I guess they've said they're not touring, but they will be playing limited dates and such. Because again, friend of the show, Jeff McDonald, posted video from their Roxy warm-up show, and
yes,
it looked
which was great.
Amazing. And Kathy Valentine in her Klemberg pal.
I know.
Shirt. But she said she is writing about him for her new book, so there is more of that to come.
I know. It's going to be awesome. And she's the coolest. I mean, we've wanted her to be a friend of the show. She's actually way up there on the must-get list. Like, we've had her on our list from way, way back.
This is true. This is very, very true.
So maybe our friends, our imaginary best friends that are real best friends.
Yeah, I was going to go over this story I found about this composer in Australia who
is that a friend of my mother?
Perhaps. He died in 2021, and they are using what the article refers to as a clump of brain matter to have it start composing more music. So that's kind of creepy and weird, and that's some sort of David Lynchian body trauma right there, I think.
Maybe that's what the captain had on my fake Barbie AI creation is.
Maybe. So that dog's head that the computer just put on your table was composing music?
Or maybe it's creating more captain. I don't know. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it's why we need to be careful with AI.
It's the only time I've ventured in there, and I don't think I'll.
I think it's the only thing we need to worry about AI doing is accidentally putting dog heads where they shouldn't be.
That's enough.
Pretty much everything else, just cut and paste.
I was afraid if I asked it anything else, it would put me in an elevator. But that's okay. So.
Haven't sat down to write a song in a long time. Feeling guilty about the things I didn't do. I haven't seen my friends in such a long time. I've been missing them and I've been missing you. I haven't felt quite right for a long time. Can't seem to find out why.
And it's interesting, I don't know even how to sort of
I haven't sat down to write a song in such a long time.
Work here, but then you're also doing a lot of things and advocating for artists' rights under this sort of buy before you stream concept and idea. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that kind of came to be and why seemingly you're one of the few people to stand up and be like, hey, this is kind of messed up?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of talked about it for years. One of my albums I didn't even release to streaming platforms until a year later. And so that was back in 2015. I was already feeling like, what is going on here? But, you know, I was lucky also to come from the age of selling CDs and having people pay for your music and value it and hold on to that tangible piece of art and ask for your signature. And so I came from that era. And then you come to this new world of streaming where there's nothing to sign, there is nothing to show, and there's no payment coming into your bank account. And so I think I've seen the whole thing where it doesn't have to be this or that. It can be yes and. And that's what I feel like we're doing with this whole buy before you stream thing is that, yes, streaming is necessary that we need in the music industry. But I see that fans are wanting to have physical music. They're wanting to get your signature. It's pretty cool like that.
Well, it's interesting. I feel like the first time, obviously there's the Metallica Napster conversation, which sort of very, I think did some huge damage as far as what the point of all of this is and how this can best help everyone. But I feel like during the pandemic and post-pandemic, there was a sense, and maybe I'm mistaken in this, but a sense of like if you like these artists, if you want them to keep continuing, their main source of money comes from touring and
Yep.
gigs. And so if you like these folks, if you want them to keep going, you got to buy a shirt, buy a CD, like do something so they have cash coming in during this time. Yes, it's hard for you, but it's almost doubly hard for them.
Yep.
Do you think there is that? Do you think the overarching approach from music fans is this sort of like, why should you just be able to take this all in like it's a buffet?
I think from some, I think you're always having your active listeners, your active fans. You're always going to have people that just enjoy music as a background thing.
Hmm.
And so I'm seeing both. And I also belong to both. I love being able to, hey, I want to check out this song. I'm going to look it up before I buy it, see if I like it. So I'm kind of guilty myself of using streaming platforms that way. But I think there's still just this need for real connection, and I think that during the pandemic, when we took away that face to face connection, we took away live shows. I didn't play a single live show for 15 months, and I was used to playing 5 shows a week. So quite shocking. And we actually started streaming from in here and doing shows from in here. I played 3 times a week on Facebook, did Facebook Live, and my fans sustained my career through that entire time. They bought t shirts, they bought stickers, they bought hats. They also just donated to the cause. And so I think post all that, now that we're back on stages, I think some people are just like, I can't take this for granted ever again. Like, I miss this so much, and it feels good to be in this artist's presence. And I also think that people are coming back and they kind of forgot how to behave at concerts. I'm seeing both. It's just, we all went through such a crazy traumatic event. I think that we're still processing it as a whole, if even that. I don't know if anybody is even really processing it. But for me, wanting to do this buy before you stream was a way to say thank you to my fans for believing in me the last 5 years when we've been struggling the most, giving them an opportunity to own a physical piece of music, hold it in
There it
their
is.
hands,
There it is. Yeah.
open it up. You could smell it. Like, I wanted to be able to give them a thing to say, hey, thanks. You get the first chance to hear this. And this
Hmm.
45-inch record's available a whole month before it's going to streaming. And my entire 12-inch album will be coming out a whole month before it's streaming. So we give our fans that first pick, shall we say.
Yeah. It's interesting because obviously there's this huge rise in vinyl, and I can't remember which year it was, vinyl selling more than other formats and such.
Yeah.
Do you think it is because it has sort of made that is the tangible thing for people? I mean, I own records and I don't have a record player right now. Um,
Exactly.
but you're like, it comes with a download code, fine, and like it'll be on Spotify, but that sense of like it, the idea of making music tangible again, that is something that you can hold and is it just seems like I don't know, like you said, like people haven't figured out, or remembered how to behave at concerts, or
Hmm.
remembered, and maybe it's even this a bigger sense of remembered how to support artists and how to make
Yeah.
sure that they keep doing more.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the point of this initiative is to kind of get the word out. And it's almost an SOS, like, hey, we cannot keep sustaining future records. We cannot keep sustaining tours if we do not have the financial support for our recorded music, and also for tickets, right? And I think a lot of people are hesitant to buy tickets these days. People are waiting until the day of to commit to shows. And that is hurting the artists because then the promoters are saying, well, not enough ticket sales. And sometimes they're pulling the plug on the show or, um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I just think that we're in this new part of the music industry. I think that artists have been speaking out. We saw the band Lawrence go up and speak in front of the Senate about Ticketmaster and costs like that, and passing real legislation. There's some great union groups out there. UMAW, they're doing some great things for musicians and fighting for fair pay from streaming services. So I think we're at this forefront where times are still tough, but I think we're getting people on board. Since launching the 45, I've already sold almost 20 copies, and you times that times $10, like that's, 80,000 to 100 streams I would have to get that amount of money. So 10 people saying, "Hey, I believe in this buy before you stream. I'm going to get this record from you." That gets me so much further than, any streaming platform has yet to pay me.
Do you think that the streaming platforms are a necessary evil, or kind of have we taken the toothpaste out of the tube and suddenly we're going, oh my God, what do we do now? How do we make this a viable, life choice?
Yeah, I think yes, and I think that it is a necessary evil. You're always going to have the bulk of your listeners right now. I think Spotify is the bulk of streaming. YouTube is still king, I think, with the world. Like more users use YouTube than anything. Um, but I do think that, people are getting tired of the AI aspects of it. Whereas a
Hmm.
lot of the editorial playlists used to be real humans picking real music. I actually had a song land on an editorial playlist. It was awesome. We got a ton of streams from it. But
And you
now
got
they're
a check for 75 cents.
Yes,
So everyone's winning.
exactly. But now they're using AI algorithm playlists. They're not even having real humans put together their daily playlists. And I think that some people can recognize it and some people notice, and others, it's just background music. They don't notice. But us artists, like we thrive because of our fans, and that is number one. Your fan is an active listener. They engage on your social media. They come to your shows. They might just say, "Hey, I'm thinking of you." And those type of interactions go so much further than anything I've ever had off of streaming platforms. So I think we're seeing a renaissance. I really do. And I hope to see legislation pass that they actually pay us 1 penny per stream. Like that's not that much, but
Yeah.
it would add up. 1 penny per stream. But right now they're paying on average 0.003 to 0.005. And if your song does not break 1,000 streams in a year, you do not get paid anything. And so, yeah, I mean, as
It's,
artists, we're backed into a corner.
mhm. I mean, and you seem to sort of take the positive look at it all and the idea of like, well, this gives me a chance to reach out to folks and interact with fans who like what they're hearing and really help you, like you said, engage with them, you know, sign a record, make it something that is special to them, that is this unique thing. And I always love when I'm ordering books or records, when you like open the package and there's a note from the person who wrote it or made it to be like, thanks so much, really appreciate it. Um, do you think that's the best way to sort of convert people? Because you're never going to get that in a Taylor Swift record.
Yeah. She's not
Uh,
going to sign it. No.
No, she'd have carpal tunnel. Let's just be
Yeah,
honest.
for real. Yeah, I think, well, I'm a huge fan of Beyonce. And as a fan of hers, I, of course, like streamed the record as soon as Cowboy Carter came out. I listened that night at 10 p.m. my time. It came out, listened to the whole thing all the way through. And then I went on her website and I ordered the vinyl record. And to me, it was both. I wanted both the physical, I wanted the collectible item, and I also really thoroughly enjoyed having it playing in my ears immediately. And
Hmm.
so once again, it just depends on the type of fans that you have. And I think, the last 10 records I just sold, I signed every one. And I wrote, "Thank you, so and so, for supporting us." And like XO, Talia Keys. And I always throw in a couple free stickers. And, I just try to make it personal with my fans. And even if I know who they are, I'll send them a message on Instagram and say, "Thanks so much for supporting us." Because it really does. It just says, "Hey, I care." And sometimes as an artist, that's all you want to know, is that somebody out there is resonating with what you're doing. And so when someone buys a $10 vinyl, that just shows you, I care. I believe in what you're doing. Keep going.
But do you think you're fighting against the inevitability of the digitization of everything?
Well, I don't think I'm fighting against it. I think we're fighting with it. I look at it as like it's a yes and. I mean, I'm still going to submit these new songs to playlists. We do have pre-save links for all of the streaming platforms. So I still have to do that aspect. And you also realize not everybody has a record player, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is a niche, it's a collectible thing. You have Jack White that kind of blew it up and brought it back to the forefront. And that's been so inspiring to see. So I think it's both. I don't know if I'm fighting against it necessarily. I'm using my platform to speak out about our experiences as artists. And we feel undervalued, we feel underappreciated, and we feel like, how are we going to make this next record if we don't have anything to show for this past record?
Well, and two, you like you said, you touched on a little bit this idea of an editorial hand in something, and how in some ways the DJs and on radio, the folks who when they played something, you would listen to it, you would give it an extra chance because this person kind of put their seal of approval on it and said, I really like this person.
Mhm.
Um, but you don't have that anymore. And sort of how do you, as an independent artist trying to make a name, trying to reach people, trying to get a reaction from somebody, digitization sort of gives you that ability to be like, well, 5 seconds, I can just move on. And like, has it changed your songwriting? Do you think it's going to change songwriting if you got to grab them in that first 10 seconds? And some of the greatest songs ever written will not do that in the first 10 seconds.
E-
You know,
Exactly.
you
I
can name any
personally
number.
Yeah, I personally have not changed my songwriting to appease that. One of the songs
Hmm.
on this record is a 6-minute long, introspective, psychedelic. It has a full breakdown with strings. So for me, I'm just trying to stay as authentic to my heart and my music and what I want to make. And I have, like, at one point, I was like, could this be a Reels song? And, it's just like, I don't want to think about my art that way. And that, not that there's anything wrong with artists that do that, because there are people. They are starting to hire ghostwriters that only write these 30-second, it's got to have a big drop right here because people are going to remix it. And, there
Hmm.
are people doing that. I think it all boils down to authenticity. And always the best music that lasts a long time is authentic. It's real to the artist that is producing it. If I'm lucky and I write a catchy song and it might work great with reels, yay. But, that's not my intention. I do think it's a lot of bedroom TikTok musicians' intention. I do. And I know
Hmm.
that major labels are signing a lot of these TikTok artists who've never played a show. And so here they're getting signed, they're releasing a record, they're going to go tour it, but they can't perform. They can't perform to save their life. And I've seen it even on big pictures like the Grammys.
Hmm.
And so I just think it all boils down, like, think about the artists that have last like forever. We still love Bob Marley. We still love Aretha Franklin. We still love, I got the Beatles on my wall and Prince. Like, those artists just like were authentic to them. They had their sound, they had their vibe, and that's what people fell in love with. It wasn't because they were trying to make a hit song for a 30-second reel. you know? So,
Well,
but there, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's interesting because growing up in the '90s, especially with Nirvana and Cobain wearing a T-shirt on the cover of Rolling Stone that says "Corporate magazines still suck." The idea of selling out was a huge thing, and like you can't commercialize your music. And Tom Waits telling, I can't remember who it was, when they asked about Michael Jackson with Pepsi, saying if he really wants to work for Pepsi so much, you should just get a desk there. Like, that's not what I do this for.
Yeah.
Um, and it's that idea. I don't think my kids have the same thing because I've used the word sellout to them, and they've just sort of been like, "Well, what's that?" And
Yeah.
it has changed where artists are trying any and everything to get their music out to an audience.
Yep.
Do you worry about sort of cutting off your nose to spite your face? Or is it sort of like, as you were saying before, the yes and of
Mhm.
I'm going to do all the vinyl stuff, I'm going to do physical media and make sure fans have the experience. But then I'm also going to throw this up on TikTok and Instagram and make sure we, make somebody's Facebook stories or reels.
Yeah, I just think right now we're riding that wave and we're doing it all. Like the modern musician that's really driven and going for it, they're going for it from all aspects. So yes to being creative and having special merchandise, and yes to, putting up stories and reels and trying to stay on top of our social media. But personally, I did sell a song to Utah Tourism. They used one of my songs to promote the ski industry. And I did not feel like a sellout. I felt like, hey, I'm getting paid. Like I'm actually getting some money for the work that I'm doing. And I'm a big skier myself. So it's something that I care about. It's something that I'm passionate about. So for me, when I do brand deals or I do license my music, it's going to be something that I give a thumbs up to. And when I was working with a sync agent, I said, I do not want it going to any corporations. I listed out some corporations. And, as a queer woman, I don't want my music being used for Chick-fil-A. Like, no, I'm definitely
Fair.
vehemently against that. So, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like if a local barbecue joint asked me and I loved it, then yes, absolutely, I'm willing to use my music. But yeah, I totally agree with you because I grew up with the 90s music and the whole sellout and grunge and I probably would have called myself a sellout when I
But
was younger, but we got to do what we got to do because right now we live in a completely capitalistic society. And if we're trying to survive that society, you do have to kind of play the game of capitalism. But at the same time, I can speak against it. I can fight against it. I can vote for what I believe in. And I can write music that matters to me and my fans.
and it's so interesting going through the record. So many of the songs, like you said earlier, you don't write for those first 10 seconds to really like give you two or three great beats where you're just like, I can do stuff with this. Um, but just your voice and the emotion and the uh, it grows. And like you said, with a 6 minute song, like it has to have a slow, that slow reveal, that slow, emergence and advancement as you're going through a journey with these songs. As we're talking, I just start to think like, is that is this a dying art form? And I'm not saying to you, I'm not saying to bring everybody down, but like, is there going to be another Desolation Row? Is there going to be another Hey Jude where someone's like, well, I don't care. It's got to be 7 minutes long because that's what it is. Um, are all of us who are just like, no, I want to hear, all 20 verses of whatever Leonard Cohen song it is, not Hallelujah. Let's just give that a few months off.
Yeah.
Um, Tower of Song. I mean, let's just let that go for a while. But are we fighting against this tide that's just saying like, listen, old man, no one cares about this anymore. Like, give me 20 seconds or just get out. Are we the
Yeah.
ones being obstinate and kind of saying like, you know, essentially some version of yelling at kids to get off the lawn?
Yes, I think a little bit, but I also think, it's hard because I just did a Bob Dylan tribute last weekend, right?
Ooh, what'd you
And
play?
I got to sing Serve Somebody and I did the Mavis Staples version and it was just perfect to be singing that in
Please.
Salt Lake City, Utah, right?
Oh,
So,
you're speaking my
um
language.
and for me, that just like really reinvigorated because it was a sold out crowd. It wasn't just a bunch of older folk there. There was people singing Dylan's lyrics and like, somebody sang Idiot Wind. I swear there's 12 verses in that song.
Oh,
They
yes.
did Lily Rose, the song that has a bunch of
Oh,
verses.
jeez. Yeah. Talk about
Yeah,
that.
and so talk about like I just think it really depends. Like I think there's always going to be art that is created. There's always going to be music that is what exactly it needs to be and long and drawn out. And then there's always need for that little 3-minute bop, right? Like I go to the gym. I like to listen to those 3-minute bops. I'm not putting on Bob Dylan to go work out. You know what I mean? But
I
I'm put
I
mean,
am. I
Yeah.
totally
Hey,
am.
do you?
I want to be like, I only need to get through like 3 songs and I'm done. That's
No,
it.
ISIS. That's what you do
Good
on the
point.
treadmill. The
Yeah.
live
Yes.
version of ISIS, you'll be all set.
Boom. Good point. I love that.
Cardio for days. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
guess what you're saying is sort of it might be the devil, it might be the Lord, but you got to
There you go.
serve somebody. Is that
Gotta
what we're
serve.
saying?
Absolutely.
You just
Okay.
pulled that
Yes.
full circle. Beautiful. I
Thank you.
mean, it is.
I'll show
Specialty.
myself out.
Yes. And I mean, again, we are not demonizing streaming services, but we are asking for what we're worth. And I think that's just the shift in conversation. Neil Young spoke out about it very loudly. And then, a little bit later, some of his music were put on streaming platforms.
Right.
So I think it's like we can't just say you have to be this or you have to be that, because that's never how activism works. Activism is I am this and I am that, and I'm going to fight for that.
Right.
So, yeah. But yeah, like get off my lawn. I don't want this 3 minute long. I think if you're very anti, pop song, that's on you. That's just your taste in music. And as an artist, I do fit into some genres, but I also don't. And I kind of have my own sound that I play. I play American music, that is influenced heavily by Black music. And if it wasn't for all the Black rock and roll pioneers before me, I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you. So, yeah, I think it's just about being authentic, being yourself.
And the long, is it dying art form, the long song and all that, the Hey Judes, those were unique at they're always going to be the outliers.
Hmm.
They always were, they always will be. And we always need you to say, get off our lawn, Luke. Even though you love everything, you're always the get off my lawn
Oh,
guy. Even though
please,
you're
I'm
the
Mr.
biggest
Blue
lover,
Sky. Yeah.
we're not Mr. Blue Sky. I,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
there's always been, shall we say, musical gatekeepers. Like if you don't know this song, you can't call yourself a Dylan fan, right? Like,
right,
but no, I think music is like for everybody. And I can't tell you every single song he did, but I can tell you the ones that I love,
right.
right?
That's how I
And
am.
yeah, I think the
Luke can tell you
majority,
every single song he did and
I
what
bet he
version
can.
and what he
I
said
I
before he sang it
I mean, I
at
just
this performance on this day and what he was wearing.
I know some Grateful Dead people like that. So hey, you know.
oh,
Yeah.
uh by the way, let me just take this moment to put a plug in for Making a Liar Out of Me off the Born Again records. Do you know the
All right.
song?
I don't think I do.
Oh my
See?
God, it's
I
so
got to check
brilliant.
that out.
And I did not listen to any of the religious stuff for some time, and then suddenly this hit me. I'm just like, oh my God, it's one of those things where it's like this guy just threw this away. Like, yeah, I don't need this. Anyone else would have built a career around it.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, the whole thing is so fascinating, and it's sort of like you're fighting against this tide that is really pushing one way, but then you do get people who, like we were saying, post COVID, are going like, no, I need to buy a shirt now. And I feel like every show I go to, I'm like, and I've said to my kids too, like, I would much rather hand an artist $20
Hmm.
and watch it go into their pocket versus pointing at t-shirt A4 and give me this one in this size and handing it to a stranger. Um,
Yeah.
Right.
Mostly because I don't think Mariah Carey would run a line very well at the merch stand, and it'd just
Well,
be all over the
Be
place.
too many selfies. It take too long.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
true.
I make it a point at the end of my shows, no matter how exhausted I am, I go out to my merch booth and I go meet people, I shake hands, I sign records, and I notice that I double my merch sales when I
Oh,
do
yeah,
that,
for
and
sure.
as I might be completely exhausted, I might be, feeling like I can't do anything else, but I will still go out there and I want to meet the people that want to support me because without our fans, quite frankly, we cannot do this shit. Like it
Mm.
would not matter. We couldn't sustain it. And I've been playing in Salt Lake, that's where I'm based out of. I've been playing here for 15 years and I still have people who come to shows from way back when. And then now getting to tour the US the last 8 years, I have people that reach out. When are you coming back to Florida? When are you coming here? And these are real, tangible human beings. And I think that we forget that. We forget that when we're online and when you're listening to an artist on a streaming platform, you forget that that is Lady Gaga and she was in a studio creating this out of nothing, pulling this inspiration out of thin air. And then I just think the act of recording is quite spiritual. It is very just amazing how it happens. And then at the end, you have this extremely beautiful product that you want to share with people. So I just am a huge champion. Let's value recorded art because it doesn't just happen in a day, you know?
Mm. Completely aside of all of this, do you see your music as something in these recordings as this is the definitive version, or is every night you take it out is like I want to see where this can go tonight and where I'm doing with it now?
Yeah, I would consider myself a jam band, even though they don't want to accept me in the jam band scene. But I am
Damn
improv.
hippies.
Exactly. I'm a total improv artist, and my songs are never exactly the same when I play them live. You know, there might be something that happened that day, and it gets me real fired up. So I'm gonna give a nice preachy preach in between the songs, and I might play it with a little more angst. Our guitar solos might be twice as long. It just kind of, really depends. But the recorded, that's why I like the recorded version is it does kind of keep, it's your North Star. It reminds you, hey, this is how you did it. Here's how you intended it to be heard. And then when you go live, like we have people come into multiple shows. You don't want to bore them and play it note for note the same exact way. It becomes stale. So I'm totally like I love improv. I'll do mashups. We'll stop the song in the middle so I can, go on some tangent and bring it back. So yeah, that's how I roll. Anyways.
Let your matchstick burn. I'll help you light the way. Let your matchstick burn. 'Cause your memory.
From the Ashes, the new album by Talia Keys is available right now on vinyl directly from her, taliakeys.com, and it will be available digitally on May 30th. You can also pick up the singles Matchstick and Glowing Golden, which are available at the end of this month, early next, from her website, taliakeys.com.
You can check us out on all the various socials. Be sure to visit our website at rockandrollgradschool.com, and don't forget to leave us a review.
Today's show is produced by myself and Heidi Hedquist. Our reluctant producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thank you, good night, and may all your favorite bands stay together.
And there would be no one left behind. Let your matchstick burn. I'll help you light the way. Let your matchstick